Hey there, it's Derek from ForeGolf Custom here, and today I'm looking at the Ping G440 driver, their new driver for 2025. This is a head shaft hosel video, okay? This is how I'm gonna tie stuff together in relation to how the head is working, how I'm then tying the hosel into the head and then the shaft, the other two, to create this trilogy of control based on different strikes. This is a custom fitting video. And it's also kind of a settings guide, okay? So if you're thinking about this driver, I'm gonna give you some really clear insights into how I'm setting the clubs up to suit the different types of golfer. These heads are three very different club heads. So it's not like all three are gonna work irrespective of what you do with them. So be careful. Also, if you happen to be one of those dreaded slicers of the ball, stay tuned. There's a head here I really want you to see and understand how it works. Could be life-changing. So if you slice the ball, stay with me. The information gets good. Right, let's start with the first club head. It's the Max. So the G440 Max, MAX head. I guess this is the club head I'm using most, okay? It kind of suits the broader scale of golfer because when I'm pulling that weight, the big weight at the back, it's a tungsten weight. When I'm dragging that to the very back of the head, it's keeping the club head very stable. This seems to be I guess a message going forward for this year from drivers is, let's try and create as much stability in the club head as we can by bringing the weight right to the back and make it the highest moment of inertia. That's the resistance to twisting, for anyone who doesn't know what that means. And basically, if the weight is centered and the furthest from the face, it creates the most stability. I'm then shifting that weight a little bit. If I'm trying to get a little bit more draw or a little bit more fade, I can move that weight and it has a subtle change up in the actual head geometry. But the shaft is critical to this thing. I'm tending to use a little bit more lightweight with this. They do a great Denali shaft. It's 50 grams. I'm actually using a little bit firmer, to be honest. And then what I'm doing is I'm watching the spin rate from the club head, and then I'm matching the loft into that spin rate. So for instance, if I'm trying to keep spin rate down, if my dynamic loft is a little bit high, I'm trying to lower things and keep it more control, I'm bringing it down in loft. And then if I'm trying to get a little bit more spin to keep a bit more control, and I'm going up to the 10.5. There's a 12 as well, which if you are struggling for a bit of speed and a bit of height and a bit of flight, get into the 12, push that weight right to the middle of the back. And Ping, I've got these Alta 45 gram shafts. They're ultra light, ultra flexible. They really get the ball into the air, get the speed going. Hosel, right. Bit complicated. So there's a zero position right at the back. You line it up with the little arrow at the back that keeps it square. And then there's plus and minus. You'll see little plus, little minus, big minus. What that's doing is it's changing the loft a little, but it's also closing and opening the face. As you go up into the pluses, it closes the face. And if you're going down into the minuses, it's opening the face. It doesn't really change the flight that much. It's real subtle. So what I'm tending to do is, if I'm getting a golfer who's struggling to kind of control things, I'm keeping the shaft length a little shorter maybe. I'm moving the weight then to suit if I want a little bit more draw bias or a little bit more fade bias depending on the move. And then I'm moving the hosel ever so slightly. So for instance, if you're slicing the ball a little, I'm dropping the weight into the draw. I'm then moving that hosel up a little if I need to keep the spin low, I'm keeping it at 9 degrees, and then I'm going up a little to close the face a little, just to take a little bit of cut off. But really, I'm using Max to create stability. I'm keeping the weight relatively centered when I can, and I'm keeping that club head nice and solid. It does spin a little. So if you're struggling to get the spin on the ball and you are spinning it, this might not be a great head for you. It does spin more than the other kind of designs that are out there. So just be careful about your loft setting and obviously working towards how you're going to control that ball. Right, the LST, the low spin technology. This is a driver head that was really good for me last year in 430. In 440, it's doing exactly the same thing. This is a flat trajectory driver. I'm pairing this with they've got a Tensei 1K this year. That's 65X, and the 1K is fabulous. They've also got a little bit of Kali, Mitsubishi Kali. I'm using 65 and XLS in that. If I need a little bit more rotational hit through the strike, I'm keeping this driver shorter. I'm even going up in weights. They've got a Ping Tour shaft as well in that 75 gram. If I'm trying to keep things low, so if you're struggling to get the ball down and you're a flighter, you're maybe stronger hitter, you maybe hit up a lot on the ball, The LST is great. Keeps the spin low, keeps the trajectory low, and then you can move the weight a little, although it hasn't got much of an effect in this club head because it's a little smaller, a little deeper profile, not as big, so when the weight isn't that far from the face and you move it a little bit into the heel, it doesn't have much of an effect. However, if you are a puller of the shot, so if you get a little bit across the line and the ball goes left, if you're right-handed, it hooks. This is a brilliant driver. Here's the tip. Get into a stiffer tip shaft, so use something that's got low torque, a little bit stronger in flex maybe. As long as it's good for feel, don't lose feel of where the club head is. Move the weight up into the fade position, and then open up the hosel and rotate it round to the flat position. This is an anti-left position within this hosel. It doesn't change the loft that much. However, there are 3 settings. There's a neutral flat, an up one and down one. So if you want a little bit more launch, you can go to the plus. If you want a little bit lower launch, go to the minus, but it won't let the club head turn over. The fact that you've moved the tungsten weight into the toe and the fact that you're using a higher torque, a little bit firmer tip, that driver will not turn over. Be careful about this thing. Launch is critical, so loft will control launch in most cases with this club head. The LST does spin it low, keeps it flat, so you might want to go up into 10.5, but the 9 is absolutely awesome if you've got a really strong striker and you're getting the ball into the air and you want to control it. It's a big distance gainer. This thing really wants to go. Is it really faster off the face over 430? I'm not seeing it. Does it sound a little better? Yes, it does. The sound's a little bit duller. It's a little bit nicer. It was a little bit high at the 430. 440, it's lower phonetic. It's a much nicer strike. If you're heel siding it and toe siding it, with this LST, you got to be careful about the spin ratio. Try not to make it get too low, otherwise it's hard to control it. Right, I said it was coming. If you're a right-handed golfer and you're getting across the ball and you're slicing it, I've got the ultimate fix. The SFT, Straight Flight Technology, is what it stands for. This thing is a slice killer. It will take the left to rights off the shot immediately. If you're struggling with the slice, get it into the 10.5 loft. Pull that weight back down. It has a draw and then a draw plus setting. You want the tungsten weight in the draw plus setting. And then what you're doing is you're using that hosel to change the way that the club head is set. So again, like I said, the small plus will move it close a little bit, the big plus will close it a lot, and it will create a little bit more trajectory, but that's good because usually when you get a little bit across it, you're slicing it so far that a little bit of spin on the ball will help. If you're a real steep striker, be careful. You got to be careful about going into the 10.5, moving that way, and then going up in loft a little because it will close the face, correct, but it might put a bit of spin on it, so be careful. Shaft is critical. I'm using that Denali 50. And it's a 5.5 or a 6.0 depending on your speed, but you kind of want to try and create a bit of stability in that club head. Trust me, you get that thing into that draw plus, you make sure that the club head is slightly closed, even if it's just a small plus, I guarantee you this thing isn't going right. It's a slice killer. We're using this a lot for those slicers here in Ireland where they're getting across the shot. I'm really finding this thing exceptional. Right, so 3 different heads. Make sure that you don't get the wrong head here. Don't think that because you want to hit the ball low, you're going to go for SFT, but you're struggling with trajectory control. It's not a great head for that. Generally speaking, Max is going to be the one to go for. That 9-degree Max is a superb driver for pretty much every golfer because it controls so much. But obviously, if you're lacking height, come up in loft, keep that weight at the back. And like I said, for the slicers out there, get that SFT in play. Hope you're finding that information good. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe. Thank you so much for all the people that did subscribe. We had a huge amount of subscribers in the last couple of weeks. This helps enormously because it means that the information is good and you're getting value from it. If you've got a question for me, why don't you stick it in the comments below? And look, maybe I can answer it. If they're good ones, I can answer them with a little short video. And actually, do you know what? Let's do that. So if you come back to me with a nice comment below about a question about anything you want to know about Ping, anything you want to know about these drivers, or indeed anything at all, and what I'll do is I'll do a short video for you. We'll bang it out, a reply to you, and try and help you as best we can. Hope you enjoyed that. Keep subscribing, keep liking, and if you can, share it to mates maybe that's struggling with a big slice and wants one of those SFTs in play. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.